Sometimes even scientists cannot explain the nature of certain phenomena or objects. Ancient artifacts made from unknown alloys, strange cosmic objects, books written in an unknown language, and much more. In this video, I will introduce you to the most mysterious and amazing extraterrestrial objects, the secrets of which science cannot unravel. Enjoy watching. In the 19th century, during excavations in the ancient temple of Pharaoh Seti I, located in the city of Abydos, strange reliefs were found. They were named the Abydos hieroglyphs. For a long time, this discovery remained unknown to the public. But at the end of the 20th century, ufologist Ruth McKinley Hoover published photos taken in the temple on the internet. She drew people's attention to hieroglyphs that resembled a helicopter, tank, and airplane. In her opinion, they were evidence of ancient Egyptians' contact with advanced extraterrestrial civilizations. After such a statement, the discussion of the Abydos hieroglyphs became popular among people who believe in aliens. Scientists also became interested in these photographs. They decided to find an explanation for these unusual reliefs, and they did. The construction of the temple was started during the reign of Pharaoh Seti I, but the completion and interior formation fell during the era of his son Ramesses II. Egyptologists studying the temple noticed that the new hieroglyphs were superimposed over the previous ones. Such overlaying of reliefs on each other was the reason for the formation of unusual hieroglyphs, resembling modern military technology. In 1936, archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig became interested in an unusual jar stored in the Iraqi museum. The vessel was quite small, only about 13 centimeters tall. Its top was sealed with bitumen, and a corroded metal rod was visible on top. Koenig suspected that the jar was not used for drinking or storing liquids, so he decided to study it more closely. It turned out that the rod went inside the vessel and was encased in a copper cylinder, the bottom of which was covered with a layer of clay about 3 millimeters thick. The inner structure of the artifact led Koenig to speculate that he was holding a galvanic cell over 2,000 years old. He believed that during operation, the jar was filled with acid or alkali to generate an electric voltage of 1 volt. Of course, such a bold claim was met with skepticism, as the artifact was ancient. However, Professor George Perchinsky of the University of North Carolina believed Koenig and decided to prove it was true. He created a reconstruction of the jar, filled it with 5% vinegar, and managed to generate a voltage of 0.5 volts. Perchinsky was not the only person who conducted such an experiment, and all of them were successful. The Baghdad battery proves that there is much we do not know about ancient technologies. Among the most fascinating cosmic objects for astronomers are black holes. There is no precise definition for black holes, but it is known that they possess an incredibly strong gravitational field, so powerful that even objects moving at the speed of light cannot escape. In other words, they literally suck in everything that enters their space. Scientists recently discovered a wandering black hole that was approaching our solar system at a speed of about 30 kilometers per second. It sounds alarming, as it could pose a threat to our planet. In reality, the chances of this are minimal. With modern technology, scientists have determined that there are about 40 quadrillion black holes in the visible part of the universe. Just think about this number, considering the universe is infinite. And even in our Milky Way galaxy, there exist 2 such objects, but they are stationary. Most black holes are stationary and only destroy what falls into their gravitational field. But the wandering black hole near our solar system gained this ability through, so to speak, improper formation. Where it is heading, and whether it will change its trajectory, remains unpredictable. Currently, it is billions of years away from a dangerous approach to the Sun. Perhaps one day, it will capture objects from our galaxy, but we will definitely never know. None of us are eternal, and this rule applies even to the International Space Station. NASA recently informed the U.S. Congress that the ISS would be decommissioned in 2031. NASA explained that the technical lifespan of the International Space Station is limited by its main structure, consisting of modules, radiators, and other elements. The ISS is a space research project involving many countries, including the USA, Russia, and Japan, with $150 billion invested in its development. This manned space station was commissioned on November 20, 1998. It has provided invaluable data for astronomy, cosmology, and meteorology. But everything has its time, and soon the International Space Station will be decommissioned and brought down over the uninhabited part of the Pacific Ocean, in the so-called Point Nemo. Palenque was the capital of the great Maya civilization. It was here, in 1952, that American archaeologist Alberto Ruz discovered the Temple of Inscriptions. During the excavations, he found the tomb of the Maya ruler Pakal. The ruler's crypt was 9 meters long, 4 meters wide, and 7 meters high. The main part of the room was occupied by a stone box, on top of which lay a huge slab. The sides of the slab were covered with various hieroglyphs narrating events from the ruler's life, while its top surface featured a carving depicting a symbolic scene. It shows Pakal at the center of the composition, lying on his back in royal attire and jewels. Everything around him symbolizes the cosmos, where Pakal is reborn to eternal life, reuniting with the fertility god Kawil. This exquisite piece of art has helped scientists learn more about the Mayas' views on death. These people believed in eternal life and meeting with the gods in space. However, the scene of Pakal's rebirth has been the subject of much speculation. The most famous among them is the hypothesis that the tombstone actually depicts an astronaut, not a Maya ruler. Supposedly, from a side view, it appears that he is manipulating some mechanism or is inside a spacecraft. However, this assumption sounds extremely bizarre. Of course, Pakal was a very significant figure for his people. He also lived a very long life and died at the age of 80. Although in the 1st century AD, people could not boast such longevity. But I don't think alien races deserve credit for this. The Klerksdorp spheres are small spherical objects with longitudinal grooves or indentations. They were first discovered by miners near the town of Klerksdorp in the northwest province of South Africa. These spheres became the subject of debate and discussion after it was revealed that their age is over 3 billion years. Proponents of pseudoscientific theories believe that this find is direct evidence that advanced civilizations lived on Earth billions of years ago. In their opinion, the spheres are made of metal, and inside them are strange fibers of unknown origin. However, scientists claim that these objects are merely geological formations. Analysis of the spheres showed that they are not made of metal, but consist of hematite, wollastonite, and pyrite. In all objects that were cut, a radial ray structure of the mineral that grew from the center outward was established and described. In other words, the spheres were formed from minerals, and over time underwent processes of oxidation and weathering. On the day of November 30th, 1954, in the town of Sylacauga, Alabama, an unusual incident occurred. Anne Elizabeth Fowler Hodges decided to take a nap. As she dozed off, a large stone fell from the sky onto her bed. The woman called the police and medical personnel. Soon, an examination revealed that this stone was a meteorite. Hodges became the only person to have been struck by a meteorite. Fortunately, she did not sustain serious injuries. The cosmic object penetrated the roof, bounced off a radio, and struck the upper part of the woman's thigh and her hand. As a result, she developed a large bruise. For some time, the meteorite was studied at a U.S. Air Force base, but it was then returned to the victim. However, the owner of the house, which the Hodges family was renting, claimed ownership of the space object. Elizabeth and her husband decided to buy the meteorite for $500. This entire story became very popular. The woman who survived the meteorite encounter was invited to various shows and written about in newspapers. The couple then considered selling the unique stone. But soon, the incident was forgotten, and no one wanted to buy it anymore. Eventually, 2 years after the incident, they managed to sell the meteorite to the Alabama Museum of Natural History for just $25. With modern technology, scientists are able to study the most distant cosmic objects. Yet, even within our solar system, they regularly discover something previously unexplored. For instance, it has recently become known to science that there are about 150,000 large asteroids hidden in our solar system. Most of them are considered potential killers, capable of causing harm not just to other planets, but to Earth as well. In the age of dinosaurs, one such giant collided with our planet, causing colossal damage. But over time, Earth managed to recover. Back then, only animals suffered from the asteroid's impact, but if something similar happened now, many people would perish. Fortunately, scientists are prepared for such a cataclysm. They monitor dangerous asteroids and are ready to strike preemptively to minimize the terrible consequences. Scientists have known since the last century that two galaxies, the Milky Way and Andromeda, will one day collide. As a result of this event, a new galaxy should emerge. But when will this happen? And what will be the consequences? Currently, the Andromeda Nebula is 2.5 million light-years away from us. Meanwhile, under the influence of the mutual attraction of the star systems, the two galaxies are approaching each other at 100 kilometers per second. Using computer modeling, scientists have calculated that our galaxy will collide with the Andromeda Nebula in 4 billion years. Since these galaxies are large, this event will last another 2 billion years. In other words, the cataclysm will finally end in 6 billion years. Of course, none of us will live to see this moment, but it's interesting to know what will happen afterward. What will happen is the merger of two galaxies into one elliptical galaxy. According to scientists, Earth is unlikely to be affected, except for the panorama of the starry sky. Moreover, during this event, the Triangulum Galaxy will also come closest to the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies. It is quite possible that one day it will join the new galaxy. Antarctica is one of the most mysterious continents on our planet. The realm of perpetual ice holds many secrets for humanity, which sometimes cannot be explored due to extreme conditions. For this reason, some researchers monitor Antarctica using internet resources. Recently, Google Earth users noticed a strange object in a remote area of the continent. The images show something very large in the snow, with a trail behind it. When the photo was shared on social media, many users speculated that this unknown object was an alien spaceship that had crashed. The tracks in the snow indeed resemble braking marks. Unfortunately, it's impossible to study the object because it's located in a remote and inaccessible part of Antarctica. So for now, we can only guess what it might be. Today, we often hear about solar flares or geomagnetic storms, but we don't give it much importance. And that's because these flares are not capable of causing a catastrophe. However, geomagnetic storms can have serious consequences. On September 1st, 1859, English amateur astronomer Richard Carrington recorded an incredibly strong solar flare. The following day, the coronal mass ejection reached our planet. Residents of Canada woke up because it became as light as morning at night. Residents of Cuba saw a red glow in their windows. Throughout North America, electricity was lost, and telegraphs stopped working. Fortunately, all this chaos lasted only one day. At that time, technological progress was just beginning to develop, so the consequences of this cataclysm were not so serious. If a similar flare occurred in our days, it would be much worse. All transformers would fail due to severe overheating. They could not be repaired and would need to be replaced. This would take a long time, so we would all be without the internet and electricity for an extended period. I think many of you, like me, do not want such a flare to happen again. Comet C 2014 UN 271 was discovered in 2014 by two astronomers, Pedro Bernardinelli and Gary Bernstein. It was later named in honor of these two scientists. This comet has a feature that has brought it incredible fame in the scientific world, and that is its size. To date, it is the largest comet ever discovered by scientists. Its diameter is about 137 kilometers. Typically, comets are small in size, with an average diameter of 3 kilometers. However, there are larger ones among them, such as Comet Hale-Bopp, which has a diameter of 80 kilometers, almost half the size of Comet Bernardinelli-Bernstein. By the way, scientists were not able to determine the size of this giant immediately, but only 7 years after its discovery, as it began to approach Earth. The comet is indeed approaching our solar system, and according to scientific calculations, it will be closest in 2031. However, there is no need to fear this event. Earth is not in danger. At its closest approach, the comet will be more than 1.5 billion kilometers away from the Sun. On October 19, 2017, scientists at a Hawaiian observatory noticed an unusual cosmic object in images captured by a telescope. It had a peculiar cigar-shaped form, with its length exceeding its width by 10 times. Astronomers had never seen anything like it before, and concluded that the object had come from another interstellar space. Hence, they named it Oumuamua, which translates from Hawaiian to a messenger from afar arriving first. Initially, the object was identified as a comet. However, it exhibited none of the characteristics typical of such a celestial body. It was later reclassified as a new class of object, a hyperbolic asteroid. Yet, this classification was met with skepticism. Oumuamua didn't possess any features typical of asteroids. Firstly, its length was 10 times its width. Secondly, its trajectory was hyperbolic, not ballistic, meaning it was tumbling through space. But the strangest thing was that the object behaved as if it knew it was being observed. It would slow down, stop, and then suddenly accelerate to maximum speed and disappear from telescope visibility. Critics believed that Oumuamua was actually an alien spaceship, as how else could its strange shape, movement trajectory, and speed changes be explained? Unfortunately, whether this is true remains only a matter of speculation. In 1998, a photo of an unidentified object, later named the Black Knight, was taken from the Space Shuttle Endeavour. Scientists have not yet provided any comments about what it might be. According to legend, the Black Knight is an artificial satellite sent by aliens to spy on humans. It is believed that this object has been orbiting our planet for about 13,000 years. Nikola Tesla was the first to speak about something capable of emitting signals in Earth's orbit. However, the first person to detect this strange object is considered to be American amateur astronomer Duncan Lunan. It happened in 1958, and at that time, artificial satellites in orbit could be counted on one hand. Therefore, the strange object was identified as a Soviet spy satellite. However, this could not be true because the object was orbiting in the opposite direction of Earth's rotation. Launching a satellite in such a manner would be senseless. Lunan continued to investigate his finding and demanded assistance from NASA. However, scientists refused to help, possibly because the authorities wanted to hide something from the public. In the 1930s, near the Diquis River in Costa Rica, about 300 mysterious stone spheres were found. Local residents believed that they contained treasures, so they attempted to break them open. Fortunately, news of this discovery quickly reached scientists, and they were able to preserve these artifacts. After studying them, it became clear that they were made of limestone or sandstone. Their diameter varies from 2 centimeters to 3 meters. The largest of the spheres weighs 16 tons. The age of these artifacts is about 4,000 years. Initially, geologists suggested that the spheres were formed as a result of volcanic activity, but later some of them were found to have grinding marks. This discovery led to numerous speculations about the creators of the spheres. Of course, there were hypotheses about the involvement of extraterrestrial civilizations, but there was no evidence for this. Today, the stones are considered a part of human cultural heritage and are protected by UNESCO, but how they were created remains unknown. In ancient Hindu myths, flying machines called vimanas are often mentioned. In some legends, they are described as celestial chariots, and in others, as flying palaces. For example, in the ancient Indian epic Ramayana, vimanas could quickly move between cities and even fly to any point in the heavens. Nothing surprising, you might say. It's just a fairy tale, and anything can be imagined. But the same Ramayana was written around the 5th century BCE. Moreover, unlike the famous magic carpet of Aladdin or the chariot of Helios, vimanas were described very similar to alien spacecraft. Additionally, the Rig Veda mentions that some vimanas were equipped with weapons powered by 2 different energy sources. How could ancient Indians know about machines capable of overcoming gravity, let alone weapons resembling plasma weapons? Ufologists believe that the mention of vimanas in epics indicates contact between aliens and humans. Perhaps ancient people described extraterrestrials as gods flying in vimanas. But whether this was the case or not, we are unlikely ever to know. The Dropa stones, or discs, are considered one of the mystified pieces of evidence of alien existence. In 1938, a professor of archaeology from Peking University, Chipu Te, led excavations in the Tibetan mountains of Bayan Kara Ula. There, the researcher and his team discovered 716 skeletons with abnormally large skulls. Next to each set of remains, they found strange stone discs with hieroglyphs. At the time, scientists estimated the stones to be 12,000 years old, but for a long time, no one could decipher the hieroglyphs. The discs were stored at Peking University, and 30 years later, Dr. Oumuamua began to study them. He managed to decode the text, which contained the story of the Dropa race, who came to Earth from another world but encountered brutal killings by humans. Oumuamua published his research, but faced criticism. After that, he went into voluntary exile in Japan, where he soon died. Many researchers have tried to request these discs for study, but the university denied them access. Only the Australian engineer Ernst Wegener supposedly managed to photograph 2 of these stones, after which the university staff claimed all the discs had been stolen. Interestingly, there is no information about Chipu Te and Oumuamua at Peking University, and it is unknown if these individuals ever existed. For this reason, the Dropa stones are considered a hoax. But who knows? Perhaps all this information was deliberately hidden from the public. In one of the social networks, an anonymous user posted a photo that sparked a lot of controversy. It shows a strange object with spikes protruding from the ground. Behind it, there is also a trail that resembles a braking path. The anonymous user explained that the photo was taken with a drone while he decided to observe the landscapes in a remote part of North Carolina. At home, among the photos taken, he found this one. He then decided to go there again to examine the object. However, the next day, there was nothing there, not even traces on the ground. What the object was and who quickly hid it remains a mystery. If you have any assumptions, feel free to share them in the comments. For a long time, an artifact known as the Ladov plate was considered one of the proofs of the existence of aliens, but it was later revealed to be another hoax. The artifact was discovered in the mid-20th century in Nepal. It then appeared on the black market, where it was purchased by a Polish collector named Sergei Ladov. Pleased with his purchase, he returned home and decided to show the unique artifact to his friend, David Agamon. The object was a stone disc with an engraving depicting space and strange humanoid beings with elongated heads. Agamon was astonished by the disc and decided to find out about its origin. To do this, he went to Nepal and spoke with the locals. They told him that this was just one of several hundred similar discs. Its age is 12,000 years. At that time, these lands were inhabited by members of an ancient Nepalese tribe who had contact with an extraterrestrial civilization called the Dropa. They are the creators of these discs. Agamon liked this story, and in 1978 he wrote a book titled Sun Gods in Exile. In it, he talked about the mysterious plates with inscriptions and illustrations, as well as beings from another planet. The book caused a sensation, and many people became interested in the Ladov plate. However, the author later admitted that the entire story was just his fabrication. Perhaps one of the most mysterious books in the world is the Voynich manuscript. It is believed to have been created not by humans, but by extraterrestrial beings, and there are indeed many reasons for this. The text contained in this book is written in an unknown language. Attempts to decipher it have been ongoing since the 17th century, but to this day, no one has been able to do so. The manuscript contains many illustrations, all divided into different sections. For example, the cosmological section includes various diagrams, one of which resembles a map depicting volcanoes and towers. The pharmaceutical section depicts numerous herbs, but such plants are unknown to modern botanists. In the astronomical section, one can find illustrations of the moon, the sun, and constellations, some of which are also unknown to science. Analysis of the parchment on which the book was written showed that it was created in the 15th century. But who the author of this manuscript was remains a mystery. Many people believe that it was definitely not a human, but more likely an extraterrestrial being. Perhaps in this book, they tried to tell about life on another planet. The Antikythera mechanism is one of the most mysterious and astonishing archaeological discoveries. It was found in 1901 by sponge divers near the Greek island of Antikythera. The object immediately intrigued scientists. However, due to the lack of technology, it couldn't be fully studied at the time. Nonetheless, it was established that the find was about 2,000 years old. The first serious research on the mechanism was conducted by British physicist Derek Price in the 1950s. He discovered that this device was used to calculate the positions of stars, the moon, and the sun, and to perform various calculations. Price was also able to reconstruct the mechanism. In 1996, Michael Wright, a specialist in mechanical devices from the London Science Museum, took an interest in the Antikythera mechanism. He found flaws in Price's reconstruction and presented his own version in 2002. After that, researchers of the mechanism formed a project. They discovered several more fragments of the ancient computer and deciphered inscriptions in ancient Greek, which contained many astronomical events of that era. Scientists continue to search for missing fragments and hope that one day they will fully reconstruct this device. That's all for now. If you liked this video, don't forget to rate it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Your activity is the best reward for me. Thank you for your attention. See you soon. Goodbye.